Latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics indicates that the nation's economy grew by 4.03% in the third quarter of 2021. However, this represents a slower growth compared to 5.01% recorded in the previous quarter. The non-oil sector delivered a major share in the GDP growth, contributing as much as 92.51%. The sector was driven mainly by trade as well as information and communication. Meanwhile, the oil sector contracted by 10.73% year-on-year in the same period. The contraction is largely attributed to the decline in crude oil production. Well, joining me now to discuss this further is Chief Economist of Streetnomics Limited, Gospel Obele. Thank you very much for joining us on the news. Now, how significant is the recent data from NBS, which indicated an economic growth of 4.03% in the third quarter of 2021?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So, yeah, it's pretty much an impressive start in terms of telling us that the economy is recovering and economic activities are as well picking up. We've also seen clearly that non-oil is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. If given the necessary formalization, if given the necessary access to market solutions and necessary infrastructure enablement, all right, to unlock its potentials further. So yes, the numbers speak to the fact that the Nigerian economy is recovering, but it's a different conversation when you look at it from the context of improved livelihoods. But this is fundamentally a welcome development as it speaks significantly to attracting investments and other initiatives to take off from there.
Well, now, despite contributing a larger chunk of the nation's economic growth, the non-oil sector saw a decline from 92.58% in the second quarter to 92.58% in the third quarter under review. Now, what do you make of this?
Yeah, the non-oil sector in the case. We've seen that a lot of activities in the non-oil space have happened because SMEs and economic agents in that space over time are proving to be more resilient in their approach to, finding what works rather than just a coordinated government policy, to unlocking potentials in that space. Secondly, the fact that a lot of the growth drivers in non-oil space hinge around the critical mass in terms of trade, information, communication, finance, and the likes. These are things, some form of items that individuals or services individuals interact with on a day-to-day basis. So these sectors have grown to be more resilient, in how they have evolved over time in terms of GDP structure and development. It ensures that the government needs to tap into its potential to unlock it further for improved revenue structure and potentials for the Nigerian economy.
But on the other hand, oil sector performance for the third quarter showed some interesting patterns, especially in its growth rate. Beyond the reduction in decline in crude oil production, why do you think the oil sector is actually struggling right now?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier in the Money Matters engagement earlier in the day, despite the fact that, yes, globally oil prices have improved, that narrative is completely different when you look at it from an angle of internal alignment and engagement, to scale oil sector performance. There are conversations around the dollar to naira issue, assessing foreign exchange, for players in that sector. Do not also forget that we export crude oil, and import the finished product. So all of those internal pricing war and dynamics has also impacted on the drag growth, if you like to put, of the oil sector space in contributing to the Nigerian GDP and all that. And that drag has come to stay because these are more internal issues. There's a fuel subsidy conversation on the table. There's a Petroleum Industry Act conversation on the table. So generally, oil sector agents in itself are not having an easy time trying to pull off growth prospect for the sector when it comes to GDP construct, and we can see that play out in the shrinking performance of the numbers.
Right, Mr. Gospel Obele, thank you so much for joining us on the news.